Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024.
Welcome back to Operation Freedom, folks. I'm Dr. Dave Janda, broadcasting from our ancillary bunker linked to our main Freedom Bunker in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. We're here live for you every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. Also available 24/7 at davejanda.com with the extra shows, extra content, extra guests, extra analysis, archives to all of our shows. It's a platform that you're not going to find in any other locale. Why? Because of the experts we bring to your table. And also based on my 30 plus years of dealing with policy-related issues with the scum is probably the best way to put it. The scum in Washington, D.C. and state legislatures around the country and actually in other countries. We bring you analysis that you won't get on any other platform because I don't bring my analysis to any other platform. And I do believe, and obviously I'm biased, that the insight we bring you will benefit from short, medium, and long term. Just on the COVID situation, we put you years ahead of the curve. Our subscribers tell us that on a very regular basis that the information we provided and the experts we provided, as well as my analysis as a data analyst, that we actually saved many families' lives with our information. You see, information is power. It's not nukes. Well, maybe it's nukes. Information nukes. And that's what our next guest does on the financial front. Operation Freedom will turn 12 years old on October 31st of this year. Not bad for a show that was only supposed to last a month. 12 years into it because of the guests we bring and the analysis we bring. And one of the topics we have focused on is your financial and economic freedom, which the globalist syndicate is intent on destroying. Those that have listened to the content on this platform have benefited from Ed Steer for well over a decade on just this platform. Ed puts your financial freedom and welfare ahead of his own safety and security. Fact. Deep state syndicate players despise him because he exposes them and their nefarious activities and how they're trying to strip you of your financial future. Ed Steer is a keen observer of the financial scene, and he's a director of a fantastic organization, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, GATA, GATA.org. He is the editor and founder of Ed Steer's Gold and Silver Digest. He publishes it 5 days a week. It is the first thing I read those 5 days of the week. Ed presents incredibly in-depth, right-on-target information that puts you months, if not years, ahead of the curve. Website, edsteergoldsilver.com. It is my honor to welcome back to our platform, Ed Steer. Ed, welcome back to the Operation Freedom Show and platform.
Hi, Dave. Good afternoon to you and all your listeners today.
You know, Ed, the last time you were on the show, I played a clip that I had dug up from 60 Minutes of Jerome Powell, the current Fed chairman, speaking about how they just create money. Well, Ed, I have another clip for you. This time from Ben Bernanke, who just was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics for his incredibly fine work on behalf of humanity in the economic world. I say that facetiously. Ed, I want to play this clip of Ben Bernanke and then get your take. Derek, hit it.
It's not tax money. The banks have accounts with the Fed much the same way that you have an account in a commercial bank. So to lend to a bank, we simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account that they have with the Fed. So it's much more akin, although not exactly the same, but it's much more akin to printing money than it is to borrowing.
You've been printing money.
Well, effectively, and we need to do that because our economy is very weak and inflation is very low.
Nobel Prize in Economics. Look, money is always printed out of nothing. Every dollar you see out there has been made up out of nothing. Every time you borrow money for a car or a house or a student loan or whatever, you think the banks have that money in their vault or in their accounts? Absolutely not. Every time you sign a loan to buy something, the money is automatically created out of thin air. It's a Ponzi scheme that's as old as time itself, and it's been around for thousands of years. And every paper currency system that's not backed by a precious metal of some kind has always failed. Everyone, there are no exceptions, and this one will fail too, and it's in the process of doing that right now. So that's what my opinion of that is, and it's such a perverted system. It was bound to fail, and it will fail.
Ed, just this week, I want to read a couple headlines from Zero Hedge for you and then get your take. For years, Ed, you've told us that we need to watch out for a Weimar Germany type of situation, a stagflationary environment. Many people, they just didn't disagree with you. They demeaned you, defamed you, slandered you, libeled you. Okay, so here we are this week. Just some headlines. U.S. Core Consumer Price Index surges to 40-year highs. Food and shelter costs soar. The PPI was up 8.4% or 8.2% year over year. New headline: Morgan Stanley says jaw-dropping inventory levels a key risk to retailers. This is from Rachel Primack. Thanks skidding demand amid a glut of inventory. That would be the stagnation part of it. The first headline being the inflation part of it. And then this came out, horrible, brutal, a disaster for Democrats, globalists. A shocked Wall Street reacts to today's consumer price index nuclear bomb. A real-life financial nuke just went off at 8:30 a.m. This is on Thursday when the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported a shocking CPI, Consumer Price Index print, so unexpectedly high, a 2.9 sigma upside surprise, that even the bears were shocked. In fact,
let's set the excess inventory aside and just talk about the inflation number. First of all, that inflation number from the BLS is micromanaged to perfection. You can absolutely guarantee that it's far, far worse than that. It's like 50 or 100% off the real mark, that people are paying for stuff in the stores these days. So, first of all, you can't believe a thing that the government tells you, and that inflation number is one of them. But, and the fact that it's understated, we're on the thin edge of the wedge of hyperinflation. Right now, we're just in an inflationary environment. Hyperinflation, for people who don't know what it is abandonment of the currency. When people start to realize that this inflation phenomena is never going to go away, and what they do is they'll get the money and they'll spend it on something, whether they buy more groceries or this or that or something else, because they know when they get their next paycheck 2 weeks from now or a month from now or whenever it is, the buying power of that money is going to be far less than what it was a month ago. And once you begin that, it's impossible to stop. And that is exactly where we are headed, not just in the U.S., but in every country of the world right now, because inflation is out of control, and it's going to stay out of control. This is the very thin edge of the wedge, and it's going to get thicker in a very big hurry.
The globalist-directed International Monetary Fund this week, Ed, is warning the risks of a breakdown of the world financial system have risen to levels only seen during past crises. That's the breakdown of the dollar as the reserve currency. Am I reading that wrong, Ed?
Well, that's just a part of it. Okay, the U.S. dollar is a reserve currency of the world, but the fact of the matter is that all the currencies are going to be in jeopardy when this happens. I don't care whether it's the U.S. dollar or the Canadian dollar, because I live in Canada, or the British pound has already suffered immensely because of the problem they had with their gilt situation starting about 2 weeks ago. But all currencies are heading in that direction. You know, I was reading Doug Nolan's commentary on the weekend, and there's a one-sentence paragraph here that describes exactly what's coming down the road, and which you alluded to in the question to me, or what the IMF said. The dominoes are aligning for a major synchronized global market crisis. And that's exactly what is about to come down here. I just don't know how big it's going to be or how it's going to unfold, but, you know, you can't keep raising interest rates into the environment that we have without having something spectacularly blow up or spectacular meltdown, but that's exactly where we're headed right now.
A couple other quotes from this week. Our buddy, I say that facetiously, the CEO and chairman of J.P. Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, quote, "This is serious. The S&P, the Standard & Poor's S&P 500, could shed another 20%, warns of a U.S. recession." Frankly, I think we passed the recession stop long ago and are in a depression. But Paul Tudor Jones fears, quote, "stability of society as inflation soars, assumes that we're in a U.S. recession already." Quote, "It's a global margin call. I hope we survive," end quote. "The average U.S. pension has probably lost more than 20% of its asset value this year. Some have lost much more."
Yeah,
they're giving us a heads up.
Jamie, I listened to the interview Jamie gave, and he didn't pull any punches. He called a spade a shovel there, and he just laid it out. And these are all the same people, whether it be Jamie Dimon or Paul Tudor Jones or anybody that you want to listen to out there. They're all saying exactly the same thing, and which I just read you in Doug's quote. The dominoes are aligning for a major synchronized global market crisis. And that's exactly what these two men are talking about, and others are as well. And there's no way to avoid it. This is the end result of a fiat currency system that is at the very, very end of its rope.
So many people don't want to focus on solutions. I want to, Representative Alex Mooney from West Virginia this week introduced in the House Bill 9157, the Gold Standard Restoration Act. The Gold Standard Restoration Act would protect against, this is what Mooney says, would protect against Washington's irresponsible spending habits and the creation of money out of thin air. Prices would be shaped by economics rather than the instincts, how about criminality of bureaucrats? My words, criminality, his words, instincts of bureaucrats. Ed, if in fact, and this undoubtedly will not be allowed to be pursued in any meaningful manner in Congress, but if this bill would work its way through the sausage factory of Washington, D.C., deep swampland, what would be the effect of going to a Gold Standard Restoration Act in this country, do you believe?
Oh, man, I don't even want to think about it. If governments around the world continue to profligate spending, what it would mean a gold price of 5 or 6 digits. It's just impossible to imagine. You know, you're absolutely right. They're not going to allow it, but in the end, when the currencies comes crashing down, and we do have this major crisis, the fact of going back on a gold standard is something that has been mentioned by many people over the last 5 or 10 years, and the possibility does exist. But you're right, Mr. Mooney's legislation, no matter how noble and honorable it is, and absolutely correct it is, isn't going to be allowed to go anywhere, and the governments of the world won't willingly go back on a gold standard whatsoever, although You know, if you look in the East, and I'm talking about China, India, Russia, all these countries over there, you know, China has got more gold than they say they've got. India's got more than 20,000 tons. Russia's got a lot. All of these countries in the East have lots and lots of gold. Either the people have it or the governments themselves have it. And if they really wanted to and they had to and they were forced to, I suppose that they would put us on some sort of gold standard to stabilize the world's currencies. But in order for that to happen, we'd have to have a major, and I'm talking about major currency crisis, financial and economic crisis, before that would even be entertained. But we are heading into the era now where gold and silver are starting to raise their ugly heads once more. And sooner or later, it may end up at that, but that's some ways down the road yet.
And Ed, this is very, very important because many people that have decided, look, I got to insure myself, my economic future. I need to have hard assets as a foundation of my insurance policy against this syndicate that is in destruction mode of everything. They get frustrated because they look at the paper price, but there is a disassociation that has occurred at this point between the physical price and the paper price. And you've addressed this before, but it's really very, very important because part of what's being done by the syndicate is running a psyops, a psychological operation, to make people not insure their financial future by avoiding hard assets, gold and silver, by manipulating a smoke and mirrors paper price. Educate our listeners at where we stand in that paper physical smoke and mirrors show.
Okay, well, the American Empire has a system called the COMEX trading system, the NYMEX, and prices are fixed in the paper market for all world commodities in U.S. dollars. And they control the price, and they control it in the paper market. So there is absolutely no correlation between physical demand for, and I'm just not talking about silver or gold, but I'm talking about crude oil and copper and zinc and lead and aluminum, everything. All the prices are being actively managed in the COMEX futures market. So what you're seeing out there for a price of, say, crude oil right now or copper or whatever, including especially gold and silver, which are the monetary metals, is so far removed from reality, it's just unbelievable. You know, this paper game has been going on for a while now, and as a matter of fact, it was a month ago or 6 weeks ago, I think you remember it, the energy minister from Saudi Arabia, the prince that was running their energy ministry, complained in public, in the major newspapers of the world, that he was tired of the paper scam that was being run in New York to control the price of crude oil. And there's no question about it, crude oil prices are being absolutely totally managed right now, running up to the midterm elections in the U.S. And he was complaining bitterly about it, which is one of the reasons that Russia and Saudi Arabia and the rest of the oil countries cut 2 million barrels per day from production, is because the paper price doesn't affect the actual reality of the fact is that oil is being consumed almost faster than it's being produced. So that was their answer to that. So when you know a prince from Saudi Arabia in the oil industry is complaining about it in public, about the price management, it's rampant everywhere, especially in the precious metals and especially in silver.
And the dichotomy right now, the pricing in gold and silver, paper versus physical. Ed, you've been involved in the retail market of gold and silver for many years. Ed, in your history with this, where are we? To me, the physical premiums are at a high end of the spectrum at this point. Am I off?
No, are you kidding me? We are seeing the highest premiums for all types of silver. I don't care whether it's 1 ounce rounds, 10 ounce bars, or silver maple leafs, Australian kangaroos, and especially the U.S. silver eagle, because the U.S. Mint is not producing them like they used to, probably on orders from the U.S. Treasury Department, because they don't want to exacerbate the already tremendous shortage of physical silver there is. The prices you're paying, regrettably, are high because the retailers just can't get the silver. The mints, the sovereign mints and the private mints are operating 24/7 to meet demand, and they just can't do it. So that's why premiums are high. But you haven't seen anything yet. But that's the reason.
So, Ed, paint this out the next several months. How do you think this is going to break down, or if you will, break out?
I'll tell you what, that is the $64,000 question. The situation, especially in silver, I follow silver analyst Ted Butler's work very, very closely, and in his lifetime, and he's been following the silver market for almost 40 years now, he has never seen anything like the dichotomy between the paper price and what the price should be and the physical demand versus how much there is out there to actually get, whether it be in small coins and bars like the 1-ounce rounds, 10-ounce bars, 100-ounce bars, or in the good delivery bar market, which are the 1,000-ounce bars. Those are the ones that really count. There is so much demand and so little supply that the lead times to get any of this stuff is stretching out into the weeks and months now. So the shortage is already here, and it's been extreme for the last 6 months, a year and a half. But the fact is that the boys in the commodity exchange, 4, 5, 6 bullion banks, most of them U.S. bullion banks, have been shorting it, betting the price is going to go down to keep its price down, not for gold and everything else. So when it does break, I could see silver 10 times the price it is now at minimum, and gold 5 or 6 times the price. We have no idea what the free market prices of gold is, silver is, or any of the other commodities because they've been controlled on the COMEX for generations, actually. It's that critical. So when this thing blows up or melts down, whichever way you want to look at it, it's going to be a whole new ball game out there. And if you think inflation is bad now, it's going to be extreme. And like you mentioned before, that's when hyperinflation is going to kick in.
And Ed, you've always mentioned that when this breaks, they're going to create an event as a tag team event when this breaks so that people point at, oh, it was that invasion of Taiwan by China. Oh, it was that nuke in Ukraine. They're going to tie it to that. They're going to try to tie it to that. So the general public around the world does not point the finger and say, whoa. No, actually, what caused this was you, central bankers of the world. It was you, politicians of the world, that are puppets of the central banks. It was you, banking families, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Lards, Pincus's, Warburgs, Pacers. It was you. They're going to create an event to point a finger at to take the heat off the real perpetrators of this crime.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a false flag or a series of false flags that come along where the powers that be, whether it be the banks or Wall Street or the governments of the world, say it was the Russians or it was the Chinese or it was this or it was that. But the real culprit was the banks and the governments themselves. They need some sort of cover for the crash of the financial system and the monetary system that's just about upon us now, and the repricing of all commodities in the world, which have been repressed, like I said, since the early 1970s. So they're going to need something else for people to look at. Oh, it's those Russian bastards, or it's the Chinese, like you said, whatever. But it's coming as sure as nightfall is day.
Ed, in our last minute, educate our listeners about your fantastic newsletter that comes out 5 days a week and your website.
Well, just, you mentioned at the top of the column, just Google my name, Ed Steer, S-T-E-E-R, gold and silver, and my website will come up, and I have a sample column. You can click on that link, and you can read through it, and if that's the kind of information about the precious metals market you're interested in, the cost for about 260 columns a year is $100 U.S., or if you live on this side of the border in Canada, it's about $139 Canadian at the current exchange rate, and I welcome all new subscribers.